Ladies, gentlemen, and raiders of all ages, as you continue your journey in Arc Raiders, the two big main things you're generally going to be trying to progress are either your quests or progress on your workshop, with the goals of just making yourself stronger in general, or just giving yourself more paths to power through the ability to craft higher level blueprints, and in the case of our little rooster friend, just larger bundles of passive materials being gathered while you play the game normally. Today I want to focus in on the workshop side of things, and we're going to essentially break down efficient routes that you can do to get the required upgrade materials for each rank of each workshop station, one at a time, and then we'll also talk a bit about blueprints, where to find them, and we'll have a route for farming those as well, because blueprints are of course a large part of the reason to even push for higher level workshop stations. First things first then, let's break down how we're going to do this. Outside of Scrappy the Rooster, every other workstation needs to be crafted to begin with basic parts, and I'm going to assume that you've already done that, or at least understand how to, because it's basic parts. For the non-scrappy workshops, each one then requires one arc part and 2 supplementary materials for the upgrade to level 2, and then another round of the same thing for level 3. Each workshop's required materials are different, and so there are a total of like 40 different items that you will need in various quantities to fully maximize out your workshop. These materials can all be broken down into specific categories, and we'll be talking about each category as a grouping because all items of the same type can generally be found in the exact same locations with some very few exceptions, which is why I'll be showing you routes that specifically don't have those exceptions. So rather than going through this station by station, we're going to go through this each type of item at a time. I'll show you a safe, consistent route for getting all of them. I'll tell you which specific materials you're after, the amount you need, and then also any tricks that are a little bit less straightforward. Before we get into specifics then, some quick general tips that will just make your experience better for every one of these things. Essentially, looting tips. Doing this solo is best as possible, as that way you aren't sharing loot with other people, and in my experience, other players are generally way more willing to be friendly with you when you're playing solo than they are when you're in a group. They're willing to cooperate and just sort of not shoot each other, which, on that note, be friendly with other players. If you don't want people to kill you, then you shouldn't try and kill other people. If you want to get your quests done, if you want to get your workshop progress done, be friendly because it gives you the highest chance of getting out with the stuff you want. Either use the in-game voice or even the emotes to show people that you're not going to be a threat, and I find like the last 99 out of 100 times that I've interacted with other players in solo raids, they have been friendly. They would either just ignore me or even try to be helpful. Someone even asked me if I needed anything, someone dropped me a gun. So if you are doing loot runs where you're just looking for loot that you care about, just try being a little bit more friendly and you might make it out a little bit easier. Outside of that, night raids have more loot than non-night raids, and specific events can be really useful for this too, such as Nature Bloom, making nature loot more plentiful, or specifically Husk Graveyard can get you free full-on arc materials from the heftier arc without having to defeat them yourself, stuff like that. Outside of that, always bring 5 adrenaline shots with you if possible. They are cheap to craft, and you can just chain use them when you run out of stamina, and you can cross the entire map super quickly, which is especially useful if you spawn far away from your desired loot location. You can still get there very early and fast with this. If you start at the spawn of a raid timer, which is 30 minutes, then the faster you get to the location, the better, because it's fully fresh and unlooted. If you load in mid-raid, chances are that some of the loot will be gone, so it's better to slow play it a little bit, get there safely, and grab what you can. Generally, you want to avoid doing these runs with free loadouts because you want the safe pouch from the upgraded augments, and so if you are doing these runs, always stick the item you want to keep in your safe pouch. The higher level looting augments also will give you more safe pouch slots, and the more slots you have, the more things you can keep even if you do die. But you do need to weigh that with the fact that you're not planning to be doing PvP right now. When looking for specific loot, you'll be making pathing choices that are a little bit dangerous just by the nature of what we're doing, which means that you could die while doing this. And so outside of a little bit of extra loot space from an augment, I recommend generally just bringing the minimal amount of stuff you need to get by. Your adrenaline shots, some bandages, shield recharges, a weapon, and some ammo pretty much. When actually on the raid then, once you have a few of the items you need to weigh the balance of greed, basically. Would you be more upset if someone turned the corner and blasted you in the face right now and you lost everything? Or if you left and got out safely knowing that you might have been able to get a little bit more? Generally, I lean towards the former, so I like to get out with what I've got, but there is a balance to it, and only you can know your level of risk tolerance. That said, with all that done now, let's go over specific items, and first up, let's start with the refinable and tradable ones. For a number of the items required on this list, you can just craft them for basic materials or buy them in exchange for more seeds from Celeste, the trader. To be specific, you need 5 mechanical components for gunsmith level 2 and 5 advanced mechanical components for gunsmith level 3, both of which can be crafted at the refiner. You need 5 electrical components for gearbench level 2 and another 5 electrical components for utility station level 2. Then you need 5 advanced electrical components for gearbench level 3 and another 5 of those as well for utility station level 3. You need 5 durable cloth for medical lab level 2 and 8 antiseptic for medical lab level 3. You need 5 crude explosives for explosive bench level 2 and 5 explosive compounds for explosive bench level 3. Technically speaking, you can also make a couple of other relevant things here, but they require refiner level 3 and are also used to upgrade the refiner to level 3, so that doesn't actually help us at all. But point being, while you can find all of these materials in raids, your life becomes a lot easier if you just get refiner upgraded first and then just refine up from basic materials. As for seeds, you can get any basic material for seeds to refine with, and also the synthesized fuel item here, you need 3 of this for explosives bench level 2, so these are quite rare to find, which means that using seeds for them is actually a very solid deal. Next up then we have residential loot. The specific relevant things from this pool are 1 dog collar for scrappy level 2, 1 cat bed for scrappy level 4, and 3 very comfortable pillows for scrappy level 5. Then there's also 3 power cables that you need for gearbench level 2, and 3 toasters that you need for refiner level 2. The power cables can also be found in the electrical loot pool, just so you're aware, but this does double up with a bunch of other items too, doing it residentially, so it's better this way. For residential loot runs then, an extremely underrated spot is on the buried city map, and this cluster of buildings down here specifically. The red tower over here is a small little residence building with multiple floors of very valuable loot. The Santa Maria houses is just a ton of residential loot again, basically a half-buried apartment complex. Then the Plaza Rosa itself usually doesn't actually have many people in it, despite being a yellow loot zone, and while it says it is medical and commercial loot inside, it does also have lots of residential loot spawns inside too. And to be specific, the commercial part of this is an overlap that makes it a higher likelihood to find the very comfortable pillows and the cat beds in this zone compared to the other buildings that we mentioned here. The best part is, when you are done looting, the subway entrance is literally right here. It's in the middle of here. You just walk up into here, get into the hole, and then get on the subway and get out. After that, let's talk about mechanical and industrial loot together. For workshop upgrades, the items in the mechanical loot pool are 3 rusted tools, which are required for gunsmith level 2, and then 3 motors, which are required for refiner level 3. In the industrial pool, it's 3 rusted gears for gunsmith level 3, and then 3 industrial batteries for gearbench level 3. The reason that we are doing these two together is because they just sort of work together. There's a spot that's really good for both of them. This time we're going to be going to Bluegate as our map, and we're going to be looking for the warehouse complex specifically, but where we're actually going is underneath this in the underground section of the map. Specifically, if you enter from this spot right here, which I'll be showing you in game now, this is the outer gate location on your map. If you enter the doorway on the eastern side here, there is a tunnel with a tons of cars and breachable little boxes. You can breach the cars for loads of chances at the mechanical loot, and the lockers and especially the breachable boxes are where you will find a lot of the industrial stuff. And sometimes the mechanical stuff can show up in those boxes too. Basically, just go through the whole section of the underground that is under the warehouse complex, and once you have enough that you're satisfied, your ideal close exit point is actually the warehouse airshaft itself, which is directly northeast of the warehouse complex, so just get to surface level and it's a very quick extract. Next up, we've got medical loot, and this one is sort of a cracked farm route, but the actual items in this category are 2 cracked bioscanners, which you need for medical lab level 2, 3 rusted shut medical kits, which you need for medical lab level 3, and then 3 laboratory reagents, which you need for explosives bench level 2. The specific loot spot for this is going to be on the buried city map, and it is in the hospital building. This is a red loot zone, and it is pretty much the only red loot zone that we'll be talking about today, but despite this, the vast majority of people seem to just immediately go to the upper floors of this building and loot those, which means the actual main floor, the first floor, the ground floor, is usually quite uncontested for looting in my experience. And being a hospital, pretty much every container counts as med loot except for some tech spots that are in the building too. There's a lot of containers due to the sheer size of the building as well, and you can brave the upper floors if you dare to, but the safe way of doing this is just sucking up the loot on the ground floor, and then extract for this one is very, very easy. We're going to be going to the northern subway station here, and one of the entrances for the northern subway station is literally inside of the hospital itself. On the north side of the building, you can find the stairs leading down, and then straight to the extract itself. Very nice, very simple. For technological parts, the ones that you'll need for the workshop upgrades are 2 damaged heat sinks for utility station level 2, 2, and then 3 fried motherboards for utility station level 3. As for the route, it's worth noting here there are tech areas in the hospital we just talked about for the med loot route, so you can double up a little bit with that if you want to, but there is a special spot that works really well for both of the workshop upgrade tech items. On the Damn Battlegrounds map, if you literally do max zoom in on the map, right where the L is on water treatment control as the label, there is a small building right here. Inside of this building, there is a large amount of breachable search spots, and inside of these, every single one is tech loot. On the run in the footage here, there were like 8 lockers, and between them I got 4 fried motherboards and 1 damaged heatsink in one go. It took me like 3 minutes for the run, and then the water treatment elevator itself is the extract right here, just a quick hop over from this building. So depending on spawn location, you can usually do this whole run in like 5 minutes flat with most of what you need for those upgrades really quickly. Next up then, let's talk nature loot, and this one does get a bit more complex than the others because of how it works. Each different piece of nature loot spawns in a slightly different way for the most part. That said, the nature loot that you need for upgrades is 3 lemons and 3 apricots for scrappy level 2, then another 3 apricots for scrappy level 5, 6 prickly pears and 6 olives for scrappy level 4, and then 12 mushrooms also for scrappy level 5. For lemons, apricots, and olives, the best spot that I found is on the Blue Gate map, the Olive Grove down here in the south. Relatively low player traffic area in general outside of people who are also looking for olives, and they are generally willing to be friendly as a result. For the lemons and apricots here, you are looking for the thin trees with some yellowish leaves among the green leaves on them. These are generic fruit trees. There can be fruit on the ground under them, and a lot of them you have an interact prompt when you walk up to them, which lets you kick them and knock down some extra fruit to pick up. For the olives, you're after these like grayer trunked trees, these darker trees with a darker green foliage on them, and these work exactly the same, but for olives. Sometimes olives will be on the floor around them, sometimes you need to kick the tree to get some olives to drop down. Generally speaking though, the olive grove is super rewarding for this stuff, and then once you have what you are after, I recommend the forest air shaft for your actual escape. Just over here, it is slightly farther than the one over here, the overlook air shaft, but it's a much less traveled route, and so a much safer place to actually leave. Then we've got prickly pears specifically, and these are quite particular. There's only 2 maps I'm aware of actually even having spawns for these. There are some cactus on Damn Battlegrounds, but the best spot for this by a good margin is on the Buried City map. Right here, all the way at the bottom in the south, you can see this like smaller foliage amongst the big patch of trees, and this patch here is a massive grouping of cactus. On average, I find 1 or 2 prickly pears per raid that I went here. One of my friends said he once found 4 in this spot in one raid, so this will get you the required amount of these very, very quickly. Check on the ground in between all of the cacti, then you have the Southern Station subway extract to go through here, very close, and it's pretty much the safest one on the map because it only has 1 entrance in a nice enclosed area, so people can't surprise you there. Finally, we have mushrooms, and these are a little bit tougher, but the best map for them is the Damn Battlegrounds, and in the water and treatment control building right over here, on the top floor of this, there's just a very long corridor with a big blue pipe leading through the corridor, and you can find mushrooms growing out of this blue pipe pretty regularly. After you check the pipes, they can be literally on the pipes, they can be just under the pipes. Instead of going to the nearby extract over here, you should instead go to the central swamp lift over here. It's slightly safer if it's open, and the trees through the swamp itself have a chance of having mushrooms spawn at the bottom of them as well, so you can check around the trees as you're moving through, as you're waiting for the extract to actually arrive, just in case you get lucky and find an extra 1 or 2 mushrooms around there. And if you do all that and you still don't have a haul that you're satisfied with, you could also just go to the hydroponic dome complex northeast of here, which does have potential mushroom spawns, but that is a much more dangerous area to exist within in general. Outside of that, of course, all of these upgrades also require arc drivers of various kinds, and outside of just saying the Husk Graveyard event when active can give you some pretty high value drivers for pretty much free just interacting with the downed arc that spawn on the map, I'll also point you to our arc farming guide video that is already up on the channel with everything you need to know for targeting every kind of arc in the game, including the ones for your workshop upgrades. That covers all the workshop upgrade items then and everything you need to know about them, as well as how to get each one with specific routes to make it nice and simple. But at the end of the day, the main reason that you want to have upgraded workshop stations is so you can craft the big meaty blueprints once you find them. Blueprints in general can range in value quite a lot, from just like random little grenades all the way up to literal legendary equipment. Some of the best weapons in the game and stuff like that come from these blueprints. Generally speaking though, there are 2 of the timed limited events that cycle around that are really good for these. One is the Harvester event. The Harvester has some of the best drop rates on high rarity blueprints of anything in the game that I'm aware of, but it can be dangerous, so definitely try it if it's up, but be ready for a fight if you do. The other one is Uncovered Caches. This adds bonus buried caches on the map, which is a great source of blueprints if you can find them. That said, blueprints can come from most loot sources, but there are a few specific types of searchables with enhanced blueprint chances. There are a few of these, the red and green lockers like high school big tall rectangle lockers, the duffel bags or golf bags when you find them, but the ones with significantly higher rates are the buried caches and the weapon cases specifically. Both of these have a number of places that they can spawn on all the maps, but they are never guaranteed to be in those places every raid, except the ones that are inside of locked rooms for the weapon cases, and these locked rooms require keys to open. If you have keys to open the locked rooms, pretty much all of them will have guaranteed weapon cases in them at minimum, which is one of the main reasons to do runs with your keys. But keys are limited and you can only really get them through RNG as well. As a result, blueprint farming will have you beholden to RNG no matter how you do it. That said, the prime targets are the two main events that we talked about earlier, and just maximizing those as much as possible. The key rooms if you can do them, and past that I've got a couple of quick routes for you when those options aren't available, which are two options on the buried city map. Depending on which side of the map you spawn, it will take us through a few weapon cases and buried cache potential spawn spots, and then we will end at an extract. If you spawn on the eastern side of the map, you want to go to this building here to start off with. On the top floor against the banister of the stairs is a potential weapon case spawn location. Then head over to the red tower and enter from the east side. There is a hole on the eastern side to go in, you can immediately go up the stairs, and this is just a high value loot area in general. There is a potential weapon case spawn in here, the red lockers are great loot too, and there are some other spots in here you can loot as well. Then if you go out of the hole in the wall and then up the ladder and around the corner on your right, this is another potential weapon case spawn location. From here you want to go to the southeast to this spot here on your map, which is quite specific, and this is a potential buried cache spawn location. For buried caches, if you go to the general spawn on your map, you want to then listen for a sound. If there is a raider cache nearby, you will hear this faint ticking sound effect playing. If you don't hear that sound, it means there's no buried cache, so just move on to the next location. Don't spend too long looking around otherwise. The next spot then is just right over here, literally just in these trees over here, just over the hill from the other one. This is another potential buried cache spawn location. After that, we have another one that is by this tree right here, just to the right of it, just a little bit. Then we'll be starting to head towards the southern station subway extract, and there's one buried cache spawn location that can happen between these two houses right here in this little alleyway, and after you've checked that, you're right beside the subway anyway, so you can take the extract and get out. Eastern side done. If you spawn on the western side of the map instead, you want to head towards the Grandioso apartments, but don't go in quite yet. Outside of the apartment buildings on the western side, this right here is a potential buried cache spawn. South of this just a little bit, right outside the front of this vehicle right here is another potential buried cache spawn location. Head into the north building of the Grandioso apartments and go up to the roof. Immediately take a right turn after reaching the top through the stairs, and on this little unit here, there is a chance of a weapon case spawn. Jump over to the other apartment building here, and then on top of the raised roof section on top of the stairway, up here is another potential weapon case spawn location. After clearing these two buildings, you want to get down to ground level and exit the north side of the building to go to the top of this roof right here. There is a zip line that goes from this roof, and you want to take that zip line and jump off of it midway to get into the room that is inside of this building on the middle floor. This inside here is a very high value loot room, partially because it's quite awkward to actually reach. You can't get to it from the building itself, you have to do it either from the zipline or jumping from the adjacent building. And here there are a couple of different weapon case spawn locations potentially, and even the things that aren't weapon cases still have high value loot rolls in this room, generally speaking. Then you can just straight up exit out of the hole that you came in, go down the ladder, down to the ground, and then there's an entrance to the western station extract just to the east right here on your map. And that just about does it for today, everyone. Your guide to workshop upgrades and a farm route for blueprints to actually put those upgraded workshop stations to use as well. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and if you have any more advice for this for your fellow raiders, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.